Hey monkeys, how you doing? Damian Keys here. Right, we're on to number 5 in this EP series. So this series is all about you guys putting out music and getting the most traction and distribution, especially if you want to sell your music. Now I know that a lot of you guys are putting out EPs, and the whole purpose of this is because I keep seeing bands saying we've got an EP coming out, we've got an EP out, and then it's just the end and nothing happens, and it's this disappointment, and you've spent so much time and effort into making something only for it to effectively just sit there, and if you've printed a bunch of them, they sit under your bed. So this is about getting traction and getting your music out there as much as possible. So in the first 4 videos, we dealt with purpose in the first one. So what is the purpose? If we're going to make EPs, what are the purpose of them? And hopefully, rather than just making one and seeing what happens, we're going to plan 3 or even 4 EPs in advance. And then the second video is about targets, setting targets so you can build on that target on every EP that you put out. So again, why we're putting it out and what sort of targets you've got. Then how you are actually going to sell it. So if you're going to actually make music from your money, if you're going to put music out in a form of a CD on iTunes, the strategy behind trying to actually sell some music. And then the last one was about building relationships. So that one was a bit more about sort of the insular relationships of friends, family, your social online presence, and how to get people into that. But now I want to take a step outside of that, and this video is about influence. This is about influencers. So this is about how you are going to get eyeballs and ear-rolls on your music. How are you going to get people to hear about this EP that have never heard about you before, that have never heard about your band or your music? And this is a chance that we can actually try and get some traction out into the world without it just being your social media reach. So this one's about spreading the word. This one is about utilizing influencers, people who can spread the word for you. So there's a bunch of points. Number 1, we want to target 100 influencers. That is going to be our target goal. And this doesn't matter whether this is your first EP or your 10th EP or your album. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to target 100 influencers. So question number 1, what is an influencer? So in this case, an influencer is anyone with a decent sized social media presence, a talker as such, someone that when they talk about your music, when they talk about your EP, their audience trusts in them because they're in that field, they're in music or they're in new music, and they've got blogs, or it might be vloggers. It doesn't have to be bloggers. We talk about bloggers quite a lot with the show. It doesn't have to be bloggers. This is about anyone who has some kind of social media influence. So for example, me, here, get your music featured. I do a show every single week. There is no reason why you can't send me a t-shirt, send me a CD, and there's no reason why I can't put in a plug. So you want to find people that are into new music, they're into new bands, they just love music and they want to help bands. It doesn't necessarily need to be a blog, it doesn't need to be a vlog, although we will add those into your 100 targets. Question 2, how are we going to find these influencers? Now let me make one thing clear. You are going to do nothing at all until you have a decent list of influencers. I don't want this to be just knee-jerk reaction. Oh, I found one, I'm going to say hello. I want you to find 100 influencers, and then we're going to make a strategy around those 100 influencers. That's the first thing. So how are you going to find these influencers? Well, it is research, and this is the time bit. This takes time, and if there's a few of you in your band, then you should all be doing this. You should all be spending, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks collating this information, depending on how much time you've got. And you want to make a list. You want to make your own little database. Bloggers, vloggers, music lovers, people with influence, anyone that you can actually think of or find that might potentially show off your music. A vlogger, for example, might feature your music on an up-and-coming vlog and then put a link to it. So anyone that you think could be of the right size. Now, you have to judge the right size. One way of doing this is hashtags on Twitter. If you go and find hashtag new music or hashtag underground band or music vlog or hashtag new music blog, anything that you can be creative to actually do searches on Twitter and start to find these bloggers, vloggers, or people of influence. Also there's Google, but a really good tip for this is rather than just going in for the hashtags, also go and find bands, especially in your area, or bands of your size, and actually go and search and trawl through their social media and find people that have done features on their band. Because if you can find the band being featured, then you can find out who's featuring them, and that should then go into the database. Okay, question 3. How are we going to approach these influencers? Firstly, going back to what I said earlier on, you're not going to do anything until you have your list. This has to be done in a structured way and not haphazard. So you're going to get your 100 influencers on a list, and then after that we're going to think about how you approach them. And this is where bands make mistakes all the time. I'm always getting people saying, oh, I don't get any luck with bloggers. And when I actually talk to them, it's because they go straight in for the kill. They go straight in, they say, oh, you've got a music blog, review my music. It's just rude. It's like just jumping into a conversation. Imagine if you did that in a bar. You just walked up to someone and just went, review my music. They'd be like, who are you? Like, what are you talking about? So your job is patience and building a relationship. This is why we need time before an EP. And where bands fall down is the whole EP's being made and everything gets exciting, and all of a sudden it's like, oh God, I've got an EP launch in a week or 2 weeks time. I don't have time to mess around. Review my music. And people with blogs they're probably planned out for the next 3 or 4 months sometimes. You don't know. So if I were you, what I would do is I would start to touch base, start to build relationships. Now the way you do that is work. You go and you read their blog, their last blog, and you comment on it. You say, I love that blog, and you've shown me a band that I didn't know about. Because that is playing on their ego a little bit, so they know that their work is going out there. It's a nice hello rather than you just going straight in for you wanting something. And also it's somewhere where you can take it as a conversation. So the first thing you do is you start with hello. You don't ask them anything. You just start building a conversation. You might find via their Twitter or via their Facebook page, you might find there's certain things that you have in common, like certain bands or sport or just general social stuff that goes out there that you have in common that you can talk about. So talk about it. These people who review bands, these are people just like you and me. They don't want to just be used. They want to have relationships with people. They want to discover new music, but the way they want to do it is in a very fun, organic way, not just with it being rammed down your throat or someone trying to bribe you. So I can't stress enough. Patience is really, really important. That's why you need to leave yourself plenty of time before you put the release out, because we are going to ask for something, but we're going to build a relationship first. And that might be 3-4 weeks worth of just chatting every so often before you just say, I don't suppose I could send you something through so that you can have a listen to it and possibly see what you think, get your thoughts. On to the next point. When is it that you should approach them? Or more importantly, when should you ask? Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is build a relationship. You're going to keep the momentum going, keep them warm. And at which point are you going to drop it in and just say, we've got a new EP coming out. I would really love it if you could have a listen and get your thoughts on it. And they are more likely to say, sure, yeah, send it through, no problem at all. The reason why I know this is because this happens to me almost every single day. Someone comes through and they just chat. I can see them in the comments section of my Facebook. I'm always aware of everything that goes on in my comments section on Facebook. And I can see names cropping up again. And I'm looking at you, I'm watching you, I can see what you're doing. If you crop up 3-4 times on my Facebook, I'm thinking, right, who are you? What band are you in? What's the music that you do? I want to know more about you. And then after that, you're a part of the community. When you come in and start asking me questions, can you listen to this, or can you review this, or can you help with the social media? I'm thinking, of course I can. Obviously, I want to help the people who are part of the community. When someone just comes straight through and I've never seen them before and they just say, review this, I'm just like, no, I've got other things to do. So I know this works. So when should you approach them? You keep them warm for a while, you build a relationship, you become a part of their community, and then depending on what their schedule is, I would get in touch with them the week of the EP, because you don't want to do it 3 weeks in advance because they'll forget. And at the same point, you don't want to do it on the day because the reality is it's too much of a short notice. So I'd give them maybe a week and just say, if I sent you some stuff for our new EP, which is coming out in a week's time, would you mind having a listen to it? I'd love to get your thoughts. And that's the way you do this. You don't say, I would love to be on your blog or review our music. You'd say, I'd love to get your thoughts on it. To which people say, yeah, okay, send it through, no problem at all. and then you ask them which is the best way to do it, whether it's email or Facebook or whatever their procedure is. This is very important. Whatever their procedure is, you work around them. And lastly, and this is just a nice touch, but say thank you. You know, people who review music a lot of the time are doing this because it's a labor of love. They don't make money out of it. They've probably got jobs. It's just something that they love. Recognize that. Actually say to them, I really appreciate what you do, because for us bands who need traction, who need support, you're a massive help. This works. This works on me, and I get this all the time. When someone actually comes through, if someone puts a review, like when I get a 5-star review on my Facebook page, it makes my day. I cannot tell you. And I remember you instantly. I'm just like, right, how can I help? What can I do to help you? And that person then comes through and says, well, I'll tell you what you can do. I'm like, of course. So not only being a part of their community, but the thank you, the appreciation, the show of support is so important. It's just a really nice touch so that you're not taking without giving, and you're making this a really fair deal. Good, that's my tips for influencers. I'm gonna keep doing the videos for the EP series, but I know a lot of you were looking forward to this particular one because this is about reach. This is about spreading the word and getting people who haven't heard about you to hear about you. But please, this is a really important point. Just because people hear about you, just because they listen to your song, just because they have seen your EP, it doesn't mean they are going to do anything about it or need to do anything about it. This might be a long process, and a lot of these people, it might be your third EP before they jump on board. They might be waiting for that third EP, or they might just not really like the first one. You might improve on the second one, and your third one might be killer. That's why this is about building relationships and not going in for an ask. And don't be disheartened, don't be downhearted if you're putting stuff out there and you're getting a lot of rejection. That's why we need the 100 people, the 100 influencers, because if we can get 5 of them or 10 of them, then we've done something really, really good. Don't expect 100 people to be coming back and actually reviewing your stuff, because that just won't happen, and you're just gonna get a bit down about it. So good, I need you to like, I need you to subscribe, and I need you to comment. Those are 3 things that I need: a like, a subscribe, I need you to comment and be a part of this conversation. If there's anything that you've done with your EP that has given you some extra traction that you think the guys in this community will help with, then I need you to comment on that below. So yeah, like, subscribe, I'll see you guys tomorrow.